Welcome to Short Movie Channel. Our movie today begins in the year 2041, where violence and crime have reached entirely new levels due to the growing social and economic inequality between different classes in society. Because of this, the governments of Central Europe have decided to grant people a constitutional right, the right to return to life in cases of unnatural death, such as accidents, murders, and similar incidents. This technology is called the restore point. To benefit from it, people must back up their brain data every 48 hours. If they fail to do so, they won't be able to use it at all. In the middle of the city, inside a luxurious building, we see many people being held hostage. That's when Detective Emma arrives at the scene quickly and begins scanning the entire building, searching for any signs of the hostages. But the criminal was extremely smart. He covered the walls to block all scanning devices. Emma contacts her team at the station, but there's almost no evidence available except for some information from a man named Florence. Emma's mission becomes even harder, and her only choice is to solve this mystery to save the hostages and catch the criminal. At that moment, she hears the sound of a gunshot, meaning that one of the hostages has just been killed. Without hesitation, she rushes inside, ignoring her team's warnings. She forcefully breaks through a locked door, storming the room, only to find bodies lying on the ground. At that moment, the criminal tries to escape, and Emma asks him about his restore point. He replies that his restore point is not normal at all. She immediately chases after him, pursuing him all the way to the rooftop. There, she tells him she doesn't want to hurt him, but he says he has chosen freedom. Then suddenly, he jumps off the building. Emma looks down and sees his lifeless body on the ground. He's dead. Later, at home, she tries playing the piano, but her husband reveals that he had previously recorded a full music concert on it. They sit and talk about their relationship, their life together, and the time they spend with each other. But suddenly, her husband disappears. It turns out that Emma was actually watching an old recorded video of her husband, who had passed away some time ago. After that, she puts on a device to start her brain back up, then heads to work. On her way, she hears a news report on the radio stating that all the recent attacks were carried out by a group called the River of Life, which opposes the restore point technology. Because of this, the CEO of the company behind the technology wants to discuss privatizing the institute. At the station, Emma meets with her captain, who angrily scolds her for not following orders and letting the criminal escape. But Emma explains that even if she had waited for the negotiators, nothing would have changed because the criminal was only waiting for the victims' restore points to expire before killing them. Unfortunately, suspicion starts to rise about one of their own. It's possible that someone on the inside helped the criminal on purpose. As a result, they decide to remove Emma from the case entirely. The captain is concerned because Emma's husband was killed by the River of Life, and he fears that she might be seeking revenge. However, in the end, he assigns her a new case. Later that night, Emma arrives at a crime scene and is shocked to learn that the victims were a married couple, none other than David and Christina, the creators of the restore point technology. After their bodies are taken for restoration, the police use holographic images to reconstruct the crime scene. But when Emma notices a pendant next to the bodies, she orders them to turn off the holograms. From the positions of the bodies and the wounds, she deduces that the killer had a strong interest in the wife but deeply hated the husband. The biggest shock of all? The victims had insurance, but none of their restore points were valid. The next day, the CEO of the institute, Rohan, holds a press conference to express his sympathy for the victims. However, he also states that he isn't afraid of terrorists, and is convinced that the River of Life was responsible for the murders. He insists that privatization is necessary. Even though he barely acknowledges the impact this will have on the poor, once the conference ends, Rohan tells Emma that all of the institute's resources are at her disposal to catch the criminal. However, when she starts asking serious questions, he avoids answering and walks away, leaving her with his assistant, Tara. Then, Emma was taken on a tour around the place, where she saw the team bringing a boy back to life after he had been in a car accident. After that, Emma asked Petra why David didn't have a backup at his house. Petra replied that he actually did have a backup, but it had been hacked and erased. As for Christina, she was never interested in technology at all and hadn't created any backup in the past 4 months. Petra then asked Emma not to leak this information to the public. Emma started going through the couple's files and discovered that they had been in contact with a man named Victor, who had previously been accused of being involved with a group called River of Life. However, he had been released due to a lack of evidence against him. Emma also found pictures of him during attacks, and in one of them, he was wearing the same necklace she had found at the crime scene where the couple had been murdered. Without wasting time, Emma called the station and issued an arrest warrant for him. As she got into her car, she noticed someone waiting for her in the garage. The shocking surprise was that David, who was supposed to be dead, had somehow come back to life. Emma wanted to take him to the station, but David refused to talk to the police. Instead, he asked Emma to help him retrieve something from his house. However, he was sure that Rohan wouldn't let her solve the case because, in the end, it would put his privatization plan at risk. That's why Rohan didn't hide from Emma that David was still alive. Emma took David with her in the car, and they sped away. While driving, David told her that he had been restored from an old backup from 6 months ago, which meant he had lost a lot of memories stored after that point. Because of this, he wouldn't live long due to the side effects. Finally, they arrived at Victor's house. Emma locked David in the car, but while inside, David overheard on the radio that the officer was saying the man inside the house was the one who had killed Christina. This made David feel hopeless and furious. He managed to unlock the car doors using the emergency button. Inside the house, Emma found Victor, who told her that David had deserved what happened to him. Victor quickly surrendered and revealed a strange device in his hand, saying he would answer all questions as long as he was given a fair trial. At that moment, Emma noticed a gun on the table and took it. Meanwhile, Victor kept talking, saying that Christina wasn't afraid of death like the system wanted people to be. Just then, David suddenly burst into the room. Victor was very upset that David was still alive and swore that he had tried to save Christina, but it was too late, she was already dead. However, he claimed that it was actually David who had killed her. Victor then tried to attack David, but Emma quickly intervened and stopped them. The three of them ended up on the floor, and Victor took advantage of the moment to escape. David grabbed the gun and shot Victor in the shoulder, but that didn't stop him. Victor kept running, jumped off the balcony, and fled into the woods. Emma chased after him, firing shots into the air to scare him, but Victor didn't stop. Unfortunately for Emma, luck wasn't on her side. She slipped and fell into a massive mud pit. She struggled to swim, but the tangled plants made it hard for her to move. At that moment, David appeared and helped her out. They then heard the sound of police approaching the area. David promised to tell her everything and asked her to meet him alone at a spot on the road within an hour before he also disappeared. By then, the Europol officers had surrounded the area, and Agent Mansfield told Emma to shoot Victor on sight next time. An hour later, Emma met David, who swore he had never done anything to Christina. He also revealed that he had stolen a device and explained that it had been used to hack into the Institute's servers. The device was a key, part of a set of 3 keys. Whoever possessed all 3 could control the entire system. One of the keys was stored safely in a vault, Rohan had the second key, and David had the third. Emma suspected that Victor had killed him to get the key. When David said that no one was supposed to know about this, Emma began to wonder if Christina might have been aligned with the terrorist side, given that there was no backup of her. But David refused to believe that and asked Emma to take him home so he could search for evidence. A short while later, they arrived at David's house, and Emma told him they had only 15 minutes before Europol arrived. As soon as he entered, David noticed that some things in his house had been moved from their original places. His lost memories started coming back. Emma found an interesting photo inside a box, while David discovered that the Institute's system had been infected with a virus that had wiped out his backup. Now, the virus was attacking randomly, leaving many people without a viable restore point. Inside the box, David also found some video recordings, a few syringes, and Christina's backup device. However, the backup itself was missing. David quickly ran to a strange-looking panel and realized it was a 3D image hiding a safe. But he couldn't remember the password at all. At that very moment, Europol forces arrived, and David and Emma took the box and escaped through the back door. When they reached Emma's house, David injected himself with the serum and told her that it helped him overcome the side effects. Then, he started watching the videos in the box, which were full of beautiful moments with Christina. But suddenly, Emma interrupted him and showed him a picture she had found, confirming that Christina and Victor knew each other and might have even been romantically involved. After that, Emma went to the station and learned from Mansfield that the police now knew about the virus and that David was still alive. Suddenly, Rohan appeared and joined them, confirming that he had brought David back to life because they were old friends. However, Mansfield didn't believe him and thought that Rohan revived David to cover up the fact that his system had lost the backup data. Now, thousands of backup copies were gone due to the virus, including Petra's backup. But Rohan and Mansfield didn't want to share this news with the public or the media, so Emma accused them of being selfish and protecting the privatization plan. After the meeting, Emma returned home and found David collapsing, so she immediately gave him another injection. Suddenly, Mansfield showed up at the door. David hid in Emma's room before she opened the door. Mansfield entered and asked about David, but Emma pretended not to know where he was. This made Mansfield furious, and he started yelling, cursing Christina, and accusing her of various things. This enraged David, who was hiding, and he came out in anger. But Mansfield overpowered him and slammed his head against the piano before arresting him. Just as Emma was about to help David, Mansfield pulled out his gun and pointed it at her. Since Emma hadn't made a backup that day, if she died, all the information she had would be lost. Thinking quickly, she pressed a button on the piano, which projected a hologram of her husband. This distracted Mansfield just long enough for her to attack him. They struggled over the gun, and it fell to the ground. At the moment Mansfield was about to shoot Emma, David hit him from behind, knocking him down. Emma then grabbed her gun and shot Mansfield, finishing him off. Then, Emma made her police car drive away by itself to distract the Europol forces while she and David escaped in her old car, which had no artificial intelligence to prevent them from being tracked. Their top priority now was finding Victor to stop the virus. Since they needed information, Emma took them to a shady club where everything illegal took place. There, she communicated with an employee using words written on her teeth and paid him for an untraceable phone and a scanner. Using the photo from the box and the scanner, they discovered that Victor might be at his aunt's house. The next morning, the duo arrived at the location in the photo and met Victor's aunt, Therese. She told them that Victor had left the house 2 years ago and showed them a newspaper from that day with their faces on the most wanted list. However, she said her house had no technology, so she couldn't call the police to turn them in. The duo agreed to stay with her for a while. Inside the house, Therese explained that Victor left because he didn't know where he truly belonged. She also revealed that the River of Life group didn't actually exist, it was just propaganda. Moreover, she believed that erasing backups wasn't murder but simply a natural death. Since David was still feeling the side effects, they decided to spend the night there. Suddenly, David started playing the piano and admitted it was his first time ever touching one. He explained that the Institute had started a new experimental program that implanted new abilities into backup memories. However, they never made this program public because it could be used for dangerous purposes. That night, Emma noticed strange movements around the house and decided they had to leave. While they were in the car, Emma considered making a backup copy, but David warned her that turning on the device would allow them to be tracked. As they discussed how Emma's husband's death had been covered up to hide flaws in the system, they suddenly saw someone driving a car. Emma then revealed that she knew Therese had been lying because the photo of Christina with Victor was still new. Emma and David followed Therese until she led them to a house in the middle of the forest. When they entered, they found the house full of strange religious symbols. Emma immediately pointed her gun at Therese, demanding to know Victor's location, but Therese didn't respond. Instead, she turned on the TV, which was broadcasting the news that Petra had died because she had no one to support her. Emma tried to convince Therese that she only wanted to help, but Therese suddenly pushed her into a back room. Meanwhile, David sat down but couldn't stop coughing. Therese handed him a glass of water, and as soon as he took a sip, she shocked him with a stun gun. In the other room, Emma found Victor and immediately arrested him. Victor demanded a fair trial and promised to reveal the truth about all the people who had died. He also claimed that the terrorist group, River of Life, was nothing but a fabrication by Rohan, who used terrorist attacks to instill fear and sell his product to the public. Victor had evidence of something important, and had given it to Christina. As they stood there, Therese suddenly appeared with David as her hostage. She threatened to kill him unless Emma let Victor go. When Emma released Victor, he ran away. But Emma didn't hesitate. She quickly took down Therese, disarmed her, and chased after Victor. She caught up with him on the street and fired a stun gun at him, causing him to fall in the middle of the road, where he was hit by an oncoming car. The driver lost consciousness, but the car had artificial intelligence and automatically called an ambulance. Emma didn't stop there. She manipulated Victor's mind against his will to prevent anyone from tracking them. They then covered Victor with materials they found in the house that could block signals. Finally, Emma found a small bag Victor had been carrying, which contained a mysterious backup memory. After that, Emma and David tried to give Victor first aid and pressed on his chest to save him, but unfortunately, there was no use. That's because Victor died as soon as the backup was completed. The two of them carried Victor's body, threw it into the car, and ran away when they saw the police coming. But as they were driving, they agreed that they had to bring Victor back. However, they knew that if they went to the institute, they would be arrested. Suddenly, David remembered that he had left his first prototype at the university when he invented it. At the same time, Mansfield had just come back to life thanks to his backup. He also found a picture of Christina in the church. Meanwhile, at the university, David and Emma placed Victor in a tank to begin his restoration process. While working, Emma pushed David to talk more, and David claimed that he didn't know Rohan was behind the River of Life group. However, he couldn't deny that the company succeeded because of the fear instilled by the terrorist attacks. He swore that if he had known what Rohan was doing, he would have stopped him immediately. Emma then admitted she had a plan and asked him about the name Christina wanted for her dream child. David told her that Christina had wanted to name her son Florence. Emma then called the captain for help, but he didn't like the plan. As soon as Victor finally woke up, Emma asked David to prepare himself before he forgot all this information again. Meanwhile, at the institute, some unusual activities at the university were noticed, and they reported them to Rohan. However, he reassured them, saying it was probably just a student's mistake. But as soon as he ended the call, Rohan sent his men. Back at the university, Victor was furious about being restored, but Emma ignored his anger and demanded information. Victor explained that Rohan didn't want to kill him because of the virus. He wanted to eliminate him because Victor had taken something from the system, all the payments Rohan had been sending to terrorists for the attacks. However, Victor no longer had those files because he had given them to Christina, who had planned to show them to David so he could convince the police that the report was actually from inside the company. Victor then revealed that those files were in the safe, meaning that David had killed Christina and had planned to frame Victor for the murder. David intended to restore Christina from an old backup. That explained why he was preparing the syringe. When Victor realized that Christina was dead, he sent the virus to delete her backup so no one could bring her back, as she had been against the idea from the start. David lost his mind and attacked Victor, but Emma pulled him away before things got worse. Then, Emma took out the disk she had found earlier and realized that it contained Christina's stolen backup. Suddenly, Mansfield arrived, revealing that he had been working with Rohan all along. He took the gun from Emma and shot Victor. Emma agreed to give him the password to the safe to calm him down. But as soon as he transferred the information to Rohan, Mansfield shot both David and Emma, believing he was now safe. He assumed Emma hadn't made a backup in a long time. But in the end, the police arrived, Emma had called them earlier. They arrested Mansfield, and Rohan went to David's house, using the password Florence. However, just before he could steal the contents of the safe, the captain emerged from his hiding place and arrested him as well. Shortly after, the police arrived, examined the crime scene, and documented everything. It turned out that Emma had made a backup and activated it at the last moment before Mansfield shot her. The next day, Emma was restored, and the captain informed her that Rohan and Mansfield had been sentenced to prison. However, David was set free because some powerful individuals wanted him to continue working on the restoration technology. Technically, David didn't remember anything about killing Christina, which is why he was acquitted. Ironically, he was the one who had given the hint with the name Florence. So maybe he was telling the truth when he said he only wanted to save lives. In the end, Therese filed a lawsuit against the Institute for restoring Victor without authorization. After Christina's funeral, Emma gave David a backup of his wife so he would always remember the life he had destroyed. Then, she returned home and played the piano without recording anything. And with that, our movie ends for today. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to support us by liking and subscribing if you liked the video.